Hey guys, welcome to the Toy Vox. Man, it feels like 5 days ago we were talking about new figures, and here we are yet again with 6 new reveals today from Joy Toy. I don't know if we're going to call this the Ultra Marines wave with Crowe or the Crowe wave with Ultra Marines. Either way, we got 6 new figures to look at, so let's get into it. And I'm going to start off with the Ultra Marines Bladeguard veteran. And I know you're sitting there thinking, another Bladeguard, I don't need it. We got Ultra Marines, we got Blood Angels, we got Imperial Fist. Why do I need another one? In the Imperial Fist episode, I kind of talked about how some figures should come with more accessories. And this is why this is starting off this video with the Bladeguard. I'm going to go through 2 more slides before I get into why. But here we go. Here's our detail display, our frontal shot. So we can see our figure here. He's got the shield. It's a Bladeguard. He's got a really nice unsculpted head. I mean, you're sitting there thinking we've seen this a million times. What's so exciting? Here's his front and back. Again, same thing. He got his backpack. It's got the really cool crown on top. But this upcoming slide is why this is a huge deal. Here's his loadout. 2 helmets. 2 pistols. 6 hands. What does this mean? We're going to start getting builder sets. Now, you might have a budget. Maybe you stopped collecting other lines and said, you know what, I'm going to throw all my money into Joy Toy. This is a franchise that I love. I love Warhammer. I love painting the models, and now I finally have a fully articulated figure. This is where I'm putting my money. When you're spending $40 to $60 a figure, that starts to add up. The next thing you know, you went out, maybe you went to IKEA, you spent $150 on a display. You've been collecting these things for almost a year now. You're running out of space. This is going to give you the opportunity to buy 1 figure, and you can make 3 different characters out of this based off the heads alone. And then whatever configuration you go with, holding a pistol, holding a sword, dual wielding pistols, you actually can see here in this picture he comes with 2 different charms for his waist, and he also comes with a charm for his shoulder. Now, I've looked through this picture and the other pictures. I don't see how it's going to attach. Maybe you know. If you do, leave it down in the comment section. I wasn't really able to figure out where exactly it plugs in. I know it does go somewhere on the shoulder pauldrons. Typically, it's the left side. But again, I've looked over these pictures. I have no idea where this is going to plug in at. But, you know, we've got the backpack as usual. The sword looks great. Going back to those hands, you know, it can sit there and point out oncoming enemies. You can wave. You can do rock, paper, scissors, man. You could do whatever the hell you want. So he comes with 6 hands again, 2 head sculpts. We've got all the charms. We've got multiple items to put on his belt for different loadout features. Pistol in and out of the holster. Thank God. I said I wasn't going to bring it up, but I have to in this. This is fantastic. We've got a heavy bolt pistol, a plasma pistol. Me personally, I am going to pick this up. Again, going back to that Roman theme and that head sculpt on the far right, that one is going to be on that figure permanently. But, and here's another great aspect. You don't have to buy a ton of figures now to maybe swap parts or give yourself a different display. You can put this figure together out of the box, put it on your shelf. A couple weeks go by, you might get tired of looking at it. You just go inside that box, plop on another head, maybe pull some charms off, pull the sword out of his hand. This gives you enough options that you're not going to get bored and sick of this. Do I hope that Joy Toy does this to all the Bladeguards? Absolutely. I think this is fantastic. This opens up so many doors for future releases. I dig it. Let's go on to the next one. So here we got the Grey Knights CASTELLAN Crowe. If you're a member of the Discord, this is old news to you. If you're not, and you're freaking out right now, I'm telling you, go find me on Twitter at JoyToyWarhammer. You will find in the bio a link to our Discord. We are, as of today, over 900 members. Those people got to see this breaking news at 3 o'clock this morning. I'm telling you all this right now. Go join the Discord. It's a fantastic community. But enough of that right now. I'll plug it again at the end of the episode. But we've got Crowe, helmeted head. Let's go to the next picture. Here's the detail display, the frontal shot where we can see that beautiful banner above him. That thing is fantastic. The sword, the Dark Blade of Arkhamir. If you know the story, if you don't know the story, that contains a demon from Chaos. This is fantastic. We've got a book attached to his hip. Let's see what other kind of charms we got going on in there. It looks like there's a vial of some type of liquid. I'm sure somebody's like, Jesus, that's this liquid. I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. If you do, leave it down in the comments. Educate me a little bit. Let's go on to the next picture. Here's the front and the back. We've got that beautiful cape. Again, I mention it in every video. I'm going to mention it again as if this is your first time ever finding out about these. That cape is made of a very soft ABS material. It is pliable. It is flexible, but it will also get in the way. It hinders articulation as far as if you want to put your figure in a crouching position. You can kind of move it out of the way. It does fold and bend, but it does not stay in that position. So if you have them crouched down and that cape will maybe create a little bit of a spring, it might push your figure over. It comes off. You know, why not take it off? If it's irritating you, pull the thing off. You don't need it. But this is a fantastic figure. Let's go ahead and look at his loading. So we've got a cape. Obviously, it's removable. We've got two different head sculpts, helmeted and unhelmeted. That beautiful banner sitting on that backpack. 6 hands total here. And as you'll see, the demons, they come off the sword, which is fantastic. With a flame effect going a certain direction, there's some poses that it's just not going to look natural. It's going to look very strange. So it's really nice that you can pull those demons off. Maybe you're a fig photographer, you like to tell stories, or you want to see that sword swishing through the air and then the demons coming out of it. This is fantastic. So you'll see on his right arm he has the storm bolter, and it looks like that chain of bullets actually leads to his waist. Clearly it's not attached to his backpack. You can see his backpack sitting here. I'll go back and look at that front and back shot, and you can see there that strap of bullets, the chain of bullets, doesn't go into his backpack, so it attaches somewhere behind that backpack. I didn't see any photos that show exactly where it attaches, but if you look in there, it definitely attaches to his torso. Now that's going to hinder articulation a little bit. Obviously you're not going to get a full 360 spin out of that arm. You're not going to really need it. You can definitely raise it up, have him blasting at whoever you need to. You'll see a book attached to his hip. Now I will say, just looking at this picture, the seal on his left arm, be careful with that. I'm not sure if you're aware of the Dreadnought that came out, that it had a seal on its ankle. Most people, when they opened up that box, that seal had fallen off that figure. These are glued on. Some are sculpted in. This one, more than likely, looking at it from here, is likely glued onto the figure. That's going to be a very fragile spot. When you're posing it around, be very careful with that. It will pop off. Now, granted, you can glue it back on and your figure's good, but who wants to do that? But this is Crowe. Amazing figure. Definitely picking this guy up. Let's see what's next. So here's the last shot that I have of Crowe, with him holding that storm bolter up, just firing off to the front. He's got a sword in his left hand, just looking like an absolute badass. This is a fantastic figure. The Grey Knights finally have another release. I believe they're up to 5 total now. So if you're a Grey Knights fan, I mean, what are you doing? You got to buy this figure. So here is the Ultra Marines Primaris Eradicator Soldier 1. I'm calling him Soldier 1. I'm sure by the time we get official releases, he'll have a name. But as of right now, this is the Eradicator Soldier 1. Let's go ahead and look at the promotional detailed display shot from the front. We've got a really cool facial shot here. That really cool green lens over his eye. You can see him holding that Melta rifle. It's got a Fury banner on the side of it. So you'll see that hose that wraps around to the backpack. Now these figures have ratchet joints, so in his shoulders you'll be able to hear those clicks as you lift his arms up and down to get into that pose that you want him in. That the plastic is a pliable material, much like the cape, so it does move around. It is soft, but it will get in your way. You're not going to be able to do a full 360 with him holding his gun with that arm. Again, why would you? But it is going to hinder certain poses, but still, come on. Look at this thing. This thing is badass. Let's go ahead and look at the next shot. Here's his loadout. So again, 6 hands in total. We've got a charm. We've got an ammo pouch. We've got a knife, the sheath, another different ammo pouch. So if you look at his waist, and I say this in every video, again, I'm going to act like you've never seen these figures before. Look at his waist. If you see his belt, you can see a little peg to the left of his belt. It's also, there's one to the right, you can't really make it out. So on the back of each of these accessories, it has this little plug, and you can, what I like to call, plug and play. You can put these wherever you want. If you want a pouch on the front of his waist, you want a charm on the front of his waist, maybe you get a couple of these guys so you can mix and match parts so they look a little different to kind of beef up your display shelf. So you can put the knife on his waist, or you can put it on his back. Let me go actually back to that front and back. So here you can see under his backpack where he has those pouches put there. Let me go back to the loadout. So you'll see those pouches sitting there. You could put the charm where the pouch was. Again, you can put the knife where that pouch was. They can go wherever you want. They're your toys, display them how you want. Let's see what we got next. So we got an Ultra Marines Primaris Eradicator 2. Now he comes with a heavy melter rifle. This has double barrels. This thing is fantastic. It's a massive gun. He's going to have huge presence on your display shelf. Now here's that detail display, that front promotional shot where we've got him holding his rifle. You can kind of see a few details. We've got a shoulder pauldron. We've got his face. We've got a close-up of the piping going into the gun, which actually you're going to see some damage to that. Which actually, that presents a conversation in itself. Again, it's a soft material plastic. It's ABS, but with a lot of rubbers like this, I'm not sure what polymer they use. If it was up to me, I would use a Viton. It's got a longer shelf life. Just a little bit of nerd talk here. But over time, and I've seen it in the Librarian where he has cables on his left arm, they do tend to rip off. They do tend to tear. So you want to be careful with these. You are spending $40 to $60 on figures like this. They're collector's items. You want to take your time. In my opinion, treat it like a Hot Toys. You spent $40 to $60, but pretend you spent $300. You don't want to rip pieces off. If you're sitting there posing the figure and you start getting frustrated, don't rip stuff out of his hands, because chances are, like this prototype, you're going to end up with a torn cable. So there's a little bit of do's and don'ts with this figure here. Let's go ahead and look at the front and the back. So again, with this heavy melter rifle, we've got the cable piping that wraps around to his backpack where it's connected. And here's another hindrance outside of that cabling for the gun. If you look at the back of his legs, there's pipings that run from, I guess, his butt down to his calves. Now, that does not hinder articulation from him standing up. You will never get this figure to do a seated pose. When he kicks out, that is hindered as well. So this figure in particular, and any figure that you see with this piping, that's going to be a standing only figure. Now, I have seen some collectors take figures with the same piping that he has on his legs, and they are able to manipulate it down into a crouching stance. I wouldn't do that. Again, you don't want to damage your figure. It looks amazing sitting on the shelf, and I know sometimes you just want to sit there, play with it, pose with it. This guy is essentially going to be that walking tank that you find a pose that works for you, and you stick it on the shelf, and that's how it stays. So here's his loadout. Again, much like the one before that, we've got 6 hands. We've got that beautiful gun in the backpack. Now he has 3 accessories for his waist. And again, if you look at his belt, to the left of his belt, you see that little plug. You can plug these in anywhere. So you'll see here, and this is new to me, so this pouch has a curvature to it. Let me actually do this. I'll go back, I'll show you the front and the back image. You can see it on his back. So it will go on his back, and I believe based off that curvature, you should be able to get it on his side. But I'm not sure if maybe it might get in the way with him holding that blaster. I'm not sure. We've got a charm, again, that can go to the left or the right of his waist. It's whatever you want. And back to those hands, we've got some gesture hands. This is fantastic. I'm loving this figure. Let's go to the next one. And now we've got the Ultra Marines Primaris Eradicator, Soldier number 3. We got 3 Eradicators. Is it getting repetitive? Yes. But come on, man. This is beautiful stuff here. So here's our detail display, our promotional shot of the front of the figure, where we again get to see that melter rifle. We've got the pipings working through it. There's no damage on this prototype. A really, really cool head sculpt with some hair this time. Let's go to the front and back, where again you can see where that piping leads into his jetpack. You've got the piping on the back of his legs, so you know, okay, this guy's a walking tank. He's standing upright, and that's about it. So before going to his loadout, I'll go ahead and call this out while I have it up. You'll see on the back of the figure at his waist, he's got that holstered pistol as well as the other ammo box. And if you look right in the center of it, there's another plug. So let's go to his loadout, where we have a charm, we have a knife in a sheath, which more than likely, if you wanted to, you could put that knife in the sheath right in the center of that holstered pistol in that ammo box. And I'll go ahead and say this now that I'm just realizing it. None of these Eradicators come with an unholstered pistol. So for displaying him, if maybe you have a rifle or something from another set, if that's what you'd want on this, I don't know why. I think everybody's buying this for the same reason. You want that melta rifle up there front and center. But you do have the option, if you've got a gun laying around, you could slap it in his arms if you wanted to. Maybe he threw that melta rifle down for close quarter combat. Maybe he grabbed the pistol that was laying on the ground. Again, it's your story. You tell it how you want. Here we go to the next figure. This is the Ultra Marines Captain with Master Crafted Heavy Bolt Rifle. All right, we got ourselves another Captain. This is fantastic. Just from looking at this right now, I love that charm on the top of his backpack. That thing is awesome. We've got a little skull and a compass on his shoulder. But let's go ahead and jump into this figure with the first photo of the detail display frontal shot, where we see him with that heavy rifle holstered over his shoulder. I will say right off the bat, with how low that scabbard is for his sword, that's more than likely going to get in the way when you're posing your figure around. I guess we'll find out when we're going through the pictures. I haven't looked at these up close, so we're kind of both looking at them at the same time. But I hope that sword is maybe hanging almost like a charm, so you can move that out of the way based on how you pose your figure. We'll see in the next couple of photos how that works. Let's go ahead and do that now. Here's our front and back shot, which again, we can see his cape. I'll just go ahead and say it a second time. Pliable material on that cape. It is flexible, it is bendable and movable, but it is not posable, which you might be used to a cloth cape that's got posable wires running through it. This does not. This is a solid plastic piece, but again, it's a pliable material. Just like I said before, you can move your figure around, you can move it out of the way, but if it creates flex and a spring, it's going to throw your figure to the ground if you have him in a position that creates resistance with that cape. So here's the next photo. We got the captain sitting here pointing out oncoming enemies, which again just goes to reiterate on how awesome it is that we're finally getting posing hands and action hands. And he's got that rifle up in the air. This figure is awesome. Let's go ahead and look at his loadout. So again, that cape is removable. So if you have that cape on there, it's starting to drive you crazy, you're trying to pose this figure, you can go ahead and pull his backpack off, take that cape off, put his backpack back on, and you're good to go. You can do whatever you need. So we've got 6 total hands. We've got a charm. We've got his heavy rifle, a sword, the scabbard, which again, now that I can see it, it looks like it does plug in like a charm. So you can put it on any of those holes around his waist. So if you want it on the left side, the right side, if you want it on the rear, which really, the rear would be best in my opinion. It'll be in between the figure and the cape if you choose to have the cape on him. To me, that makes more sense. It's kind of out of the way. You don't have to worry about it in the front. It will still hinder articulation, I would imagine. If you have it in the back, if you want to have him kneeling down, you'll have to push it out of the way. But with that not being fixed permanently to the figure, which is what I was worried about, I honestly thought that maybe it was glued to the shin, but I'm happy to see that that's not the case. So this figure is fantastic. I'm loving it. This wave is exciting. No mention of price yet. I would imagine, again, if I had to guess, the Bladeguard is probably going to sit around the $45 to $50 range. The Captain, I would assume between the $55 and $60 range. The Eradicators are probably going to sit real close to that $60 range. And Crowe, for you Grey Knight fans out there, you're going to be coming out of pocket with him. I'm sure he's going to be every bit of $65 to $75. But honestly, with everything he comes with, I think it's worth it. All these figures are home runs. And I'm feeling really bad about you Ultramarine fans out there, especially the completionists. If you're trying to get one of everything, at this point, we're a year into this line. If you haven't been able to tell by now, Ultra Marines are the poster child of the Warhammer franchise, and Joy Toy is hell-bent to release every version of an Ultra Marine that they possibly can. I know that there's a lot of collectors out there that have chosen other chapters as their favorites, and I hope you Blood Angel fans, maybe you're sitting here going, hey, you know what, I'm tired of seeing the blueberries. I'm ready to see some Eradicators for my chapter. I hope that those are up next, and I know that we saw a leaked list today that wraps up 2022 and starts 2023. I'm going to have a video up talking about that later on, so stay tuned. Please hit like, please subscribe, and go to @JoyToyWarhammer on Twitter. Follow me, and the bio of that Twitter will take you to our Discord. Again, we're 900 people strong on that Discord. We're growing a fantastic community. There's some amazing, amazing people in that group. Follow me on TikTok. Again, Joy Toy Warhammer. And until next time, guys, have a good one.